What up? What up? What up? Welcome into another post-game edition of Green with Envy. As always, it's your boy Will. We are checking in. How you doing? How you living? Joining me tonight in maybe his comfiest attire to date, at least of this season, is my best friend, co-host, and the coach of our podcast, the one and only Greg Manakis. How you doing, man?
Are we going to talk about the bench or the starters? Which one are we going to do?
We're going to talk about we're going to hit on the bench, but we're going to focus on the starters here. So let's do what we always do. We're going to get right into this one because this was this was a beatdown. It's just the definition of a beatdown. So we're going to get right into this, and let's do what we do here, and let's go ahead and cue up the morning box score. Tonight's morning box score, the Boston Celtics take down the Washington Wizards in DC 126-107. And please do not be fooled by that score. This game was nowhere close to a 19-point game. We'll talk all about it here. Let's start with the Wizards. And man, if you go to that box score, there is a lot of negatives in that plus minus column. Not a great night for the Washington Wizards. Kyle Kuzma, actually not a terrible night, who, if you listen to Scale, play with a little bit more force in that second quarter. Really love talking about that. 9 of 15 from the field, 21 points for him. Jordan Poole, 11 points. Tyus Jones, also 11. And Denny Avdia, triple 11s here, 11 points for all three of them. The shooting percentages, not great. Like I said, not a good night for the Wizards. Danilo Gallinari revenge game didn't quite go as planned. Let's go to the Celtics, where the story begins and ends with Jaylen Brown, who was El Fuego, as apparently Scal is just going to continue to go with. 13 of 24 from the field, 8 of 13, 7 of those triples in the first half. 36 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, and a block for Jaylen Brown. His partner in crime, the Jays, put up their first 30-30 game of the year. Second 30-30 game of the season for the Celtics, so that's a nice new wrinkle that there could be multiple guys with 30-point games. Jason Tatum, 14 of 21 from the field, 4 of 9 from 3. He had 33 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists. Kristaps Porzingis, in his return to DC, 7 of 9 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3. He had 15 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Drew Holiday here, 11 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Al Horford, 8 points off the bench. I'm going to leave the rest of the bench for us to talk about in just a little bit here. But Greg, let's start with the starters, and let's focus on those top 6, those 6 starters that the Celtics are going to talk about a lot this season. And I think this has to be, this is the Jaylen Brown game where, we've talked about it before. Nobody does the NBA jam. He's on fire quite like Jaylen Brown. And he certainly had that going in the first half.
Yeah, JB, keeping receipts from everybody that were tweeting about him after game 1, all the shit that he got during the NBA playoffs, and rightfully so. He had a pretty shitty playoffs. But Jaylen Brown seems to have been in the lab with Lethal Shooter, working on that jump shot. The form looks good. He's shooting off the catch. He's shooting off the bounce. He's got a couple spots on the floor that he really likes getting to, and he's not scared to just let that thing go right now, which is great to see, because after game 1, panic alarms going off. Everyone's worried. Is Jaylen Brown going to be able to find his role on this team? Is he going to have to only take 11 shots like he took in game 1? Jaylen Brown is going to be what Jaylen Brown's going to be. But because there's so much talent on this team, there are going to be games where guys are just going to take a back seat. Derek White, the superstar of last game, took 3 shots in this game tonight and was totally fine doing that. Everybody on this team is going to have games where they probably score far less than they're capable of. Mm-hmm. That was just so happened that it happened on opening night for Jaylen Brown. And he showed tonight that if he's playing against, let's be real, JV level basketball players, he's going to go out there and look like a world beater.
Yeah, this was a game where the Celtics just dominated from the start. Of course, a major component of this is the Wizards starting center, Daniel Gafford, was ruled out a few hours prior to the game. So they went with kind of a makeshift starting lineup with Kyle Kuzma playing center. And the Celtics just immediately, which was really nice to see, because we talked about it on the podcast technically this morning. I was going to say yesterday, but this morning, when we were going over the 3 things, what we're looking for is, how does this team attack a team they know it's better than, and especially a team that didn't have a center. And they went right to the guy. I think it was 5 of the first 6 possessions were all shots in the lane. And, they were using that advantage, which, we were talking about in one of our Celtics group texts that we have with our guys, Mark and Chris. It's a revelation having a big man who gets a mismatch and can do something with it. It feels like it's been forever, especially since Al's come back. He's more shifted his game to the perimeter. Rob would get mismatches. Seemingly, it felt like to me all the time. It became one of my kind of bugaboos with Rob Williams, that there just was nothing, that it didn't really matter if Jordan Poole ended up on him. It still was, he wasn't going to get the ball, or if he did, wasn't much you're going to do. With Kristaps, it is an absolute game changer. You try to run out a team of basically small forwards and guards, and he is going to dominate. And he really set the tone early with, just with some of the moves that he made around the paint. But to your point of, Derek White only having 3 shots tonight, Kristaps, who felt like I said he dominated early, only had 9 shots tonight. The guy who was the other member that has had a 30-30 game to start the season only had 9 shots in a night. He could have certainly had more, because he was by far the biggest human being.
He could have got a layup every single time.
Every single time. It was, he was, I'm trying to think, what is Kyle Kuzma, like 6'8" maybe? And that's the tallest guy that he was going up against in the other team. And he's 7'3" and more physical than anybody else he was playing against. So, I think this gets to your point and to something that the Celtics talked about in the preseason. Sacrifice is going to be a major part of this. Like you said, Jaylen Brown's turn just happened to be game 1 where he got 11 shots. But you see on a night like tonight, when he has it cooking, few get it cooking like Jaylen Brown. And, Jason Tatum didn't want to be left out. He really got going, in that third quarter, after just having what felt like maybe 8, 6, 7, 8 layups in that first half, where it was child's play, to be honest.
And just wide open layups too. Just like nobody near him. The Wizards didn't want to play any defense. And I was thinking to myself, as Jaylen had 36, was just like clearly the best player on the court tonight. And then you see Jason Tatum in that third quarter. It's like, oh, he's at 20 points. Oh, he's at 27 points. Oh, he's at 33 points. Is he going to outscore Jaylen Brown tonight? Like, that's going through my head. Like, let JB have this, man. Let him be the game's high scorer. They took Jason Tatum out of the game with like a minute and a half left in the third. Let Jaylen finish the quarter. But it was just a great game all around. When you look at the defense that they were playing as well, like the amount of blocks that they had, the amount of steals that they had. Jaylen had 3 steals. Derek White, the Derek White, Drew Holiday, each getting a steal parlay, maybe each getting a steal and a block parlay.
I was going to say, I think what we need to start doing is keeping track of the stocks between the two of them. Because, in this game, 2 steals and a block for Derek White, flip that for Drew Holiday, 2 blocks and a steal. And we talked about this last time. Some of those steals that feel like blocks, some of the blocks feel like steals, whichever way you want to kind of look at it. Like, these guys are going to fill up that portion of the stat sheet. It feels like every single night. And that's not even going to account for, some of the deflections or some of the other plays that they're making along with that.
Yeah, and to our guy in the comments, to Sean, he says he didn't like the way they played. Too much ISO. It was all-star game level defense. I wish they could have locked in a little bit more. Yeah, but at the same time, last year, these guys would have had to come back onto the court in the fourth quarter. And the fact that the Celtics were able to rest.
Well, to be clear, they almost had to. It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad out there.
Svi Mykhailiuk came in and saved the day. Svi Mykhailiuk and Lamar Stevens come in and actually hit some shots. What the hell was Peyton Pritchard doing in that fourth quarter?
We'll get to that in a second. Let's keep going with this point, because this was something we talked about, is like, would they come out focused against a clearly overmatched team? And we saw, despite the Celtics having 57 wins last year, it was, it was almost 2 on the nose every time. Even one starter was out, where it's like, oh God, here we go again. Celtics are going to let up, think this is an easy win, and either get caught off guard and either lose the game outright, or have to scrap and fight against a team that they should be able to rest their starters like they did tonight.
Yeah, and I think when you get out to such a huge lead early on in the game, it's human nature to let up the gas just a little bit. Just a little bit. I wouldn't have called it all-star level defense. They were
small stretches, maybe, but not for prolonged stretches, I would say.
Right. And they had some sloppy stretches, but the game, with the starters in the game, it never got like under 28 points. So
it was at 40 points at one point. Like, it's really hard to lock in at that point when you just know. I mean, case in point, first of all, Jordan Poole, nothing made me happier than whatever his maybe one of the worst fake out nonchalant plays of all time, where Jordan he Poole's thought that he was going to trick Kristaps and then just got swatted like a gnat on a hot day. Like, it was perfect. That was like it also Jordan Poole just had some of the worst. I'm not much of a body language guy. He had some of the worst body language I've seen in a long time on a basketball court. So have fun with that, Washington Wizards. And Greg, I gotta confess something to you. So a couple, what was it, maybe a week or two ago when we did that over under podcast, I had written down Wizards over. I think it was like it's like 23 wins. So it's not it's by no means saying that they're a good team for them to get over 23 wins. But I was so close to making that call after watching this game, and all they're missing is I like Daniel Gafford. He's not bad. He's a good NBA player. But for it to look like that, thank God I didn't bring that up, because they're so far they look like they're a top tier contender for the worst team in the league.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We don't need to spend much more time talking about the Wizards, except Jordan Poole. Be careful what you wish for, my guy. You were in heaven playing with Steph Curry, learning from one of the GOATs, and now you are looking like a GOAT yourself. So,
real quick on Jordan Poole, can you think of a guy that, because we both, before Jordan Poole became like Jordan Poole, like, before he was really known, you and I kind of like, oh, this is kind of a nice, like, microwave scorer, sixth man that the Warriors have and they were utilizing. Can you think of a guy that you, or I for that matter, have soured on quicker than Jordan Poole?
No, I don't think so, man. And I think maybe part of it is like he did some damage to the Celtics in the finals, which was pretty annoying, because you see how the irrational confidence that can be a blessing and a curse for so many people. It ended up being a nail on the Celtics side in the NBA finals a couple of years back, right? And to see him, the fall from grace after getting punched in the face by Draymond Green, and now he's on the lowly Washington Wizards, just wasting away the early years of his burgeoning prime for Jordan Poole. It's just a tough look for him, man. And like, so much about success in the NBA is the situation that you're placed in. And when you see him as this added element, the pool party, new kid on the block coming in to be part of the 3-point barrage that the Warriors had, it all made sense for Jordan Poole in Golden State. Once he's out of that context, it's kind of tough to still really believe in the kid. I'm sure he's going to have moments this year where he drops 45, 50 points because he can get hot like that, but he's going to be doing it in front of zero audience, nobody watching on national television.
Without a
he's going to be wasting away
minute the entire time.
Wasting away in Wizards obscurity.
Yeah. Yep, I think that about sums it up when it comes to Jordan Poole. I will say there's a few times where they got some mismatches, whether it was Jaylen or Tatum, and I don't think they forgot about the finals, and they kind of like being able to back him down, throw one into the chest. So that was fun to see. But I think the final thing that we have to talk about before we get out of here, Greg, is we got to bring up the bench. And we started this conversation on the last pod here as part of the three things where, slight overreaction, but something to keep an eye on. Is there a concern with the bench? And specifically, let's highlight three guys that at least we've seen through the first couple of games that seem like they're going to be at least at the top of Joe Mazzulla's mind for rotation minutes. Our guy Peyton Pritchard, preseason P, has apparently not entered the regular season yet. 25 minutes for him tonight. 0 of 8 from the field. 0 of 6 from the 3-point line, including 4 turnovers. That's easily the most glaring part of this. Sam Hauser, 25 minutes tonight, 3 of 10, 2 of 9 from 3, got a couple to go late. And then O'Shea Brissett got 10 minutes, 0 of 4, 2 rebounds. Not really as concerning. It's really the Pritchard and Hauser, and specifically the Peyton Pritchard of this, that that it was the one thing that you just wanted to see kind of tonight, and there was nothing you could walk away with feeling bad, and he couldn't get it going. And you slid this in earlier. He was forcing the hell out of it tonight.
Yeah, and it's kind of tough to judge bench players when they're not playing their role, like in garbage time, because Peyton
But
Pritchard,
he was bad before that tonight, like,
for sure, but he was awful in garbage time. Like, that fourth quarter was the worst basketball I think I've ever seen Peyton Pritchard play. So what is it about Peyton Pritchard? Like, you have to speak in alliteration. Every time you just say Peyton Pritchard, like, more P sounds just come, and you don't even know they're coming. I think with Pritchard, he's out there and he's trying to make an impact. He's trying to score the ball, but he's also trying to run the show. with a bunch of guys that don't really know where they're supposed to be on the court. And when you're playing with a bunch of guys that don't know where they're supposed to be on the court after playing with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and guys like that, it's just a little bit harder. The spacing's different. The roll man isn't a 7-3 pick and pop threat. It's Luke Cornett. There's all these different things that are happening on the court that you're not used to because you're up by 30 points and now you're expected just to like play basketball against a bunch of guys that probably won't get much run in the NBA throughout their entire careers. You know what I mean? And it's
it was a summer league run, but by the end of the game, for sure.
Right. So it's like kind of tough to judge Pritchard on the garbage time, but I can judge Pritchard over the sample size of the first 3 games, and he hasn't been good.
Yeah.
So I think he's pressing right now to rediscover some of that preseason magic. Brissett, another guy, like he didn't really do much out there, but Brissett's impact is going to be as the 5th guy on the court, not as someone you're expecting to like really do stuff. I liked what I saw out of Svi. I'll tell you that. When Svi came in, he hit a couple shots. He's a baller, dude. Svi comes in and he just makes the right play. He can shoot the 3. Sam Hauser
Sam's got to watch his back, man. He's got a shotgun. Sam's my guy. I said that's gonna be the hill. But Sam has been struggling. I mean, like I said, he got a couple to go late. But still, for Sam to really earn those minutes, he's got to be knocked down because Svi is right there. They brought in an older doppelganger, and it's that competition, right? You got a guy behind you, and maybe that's messing with Sam. I don't know. I'm obviously just speculating here. Maybe that messes with him a little bit, that he's like, oh man, I got a guy who can do everything that I can do, and is a little bit more of a veteran, obviously. That's right behind me. But Svi looks like I wouldn't be surprised if over this next week, whether it's in Indiana or against the Nets on Saturday, if we get a look at Svi for 5 to 10 minutes in that Hauser role, I wouldn't be surprised just for Joe to kind of get a look and see what that looks like with the starters, because that's the biggest thing with any of these bench guys, right? Like you said, the garbage time minutes don't really matter. Like maybe if it's a Jordan Walsh, you're like, oh, it's the first look. Let's see what we can build on. But for some of these guys that are veterans, the garbage time is pretty inconsequential. You really want to see, what do you look like as the 4th, 5th option, as a guy, whatever your role is with the other stars. And so I do wonder if we do see a look at Svi over the next week.
I don't think we'll see Svi or anybody replacing Pritchard or Hauser over the first 15 to 20 games. I think you'll get a really large sample size.
That's a long leash, 15 to 20. I mean, I agree with you that this week's probably a bit too early. 15 to 20 is pretty long, though.
Yeah, but I think it's important when you have guys that you believed in as an organization to give them a real chance, let them fight through adversity, because Hauser, we saw how much of a game changer he can be when he gets hot, and he goes through some stretches. All shooters go through some stretches where they just can't find the bottom of the basket. He hit a couple threes late in the game tonight. He had 8 rebounds while he was out there, so it's not like he's a complete negative on the court. Svi, though, is there, and I think the Celtics know that they have this other option, but I think they're going to give every opportunity to Hauser and Pritchard to earn their role and fight through mistakes over the, maybe not 15 to 20, let's go 10 to 15. And at the end of that 10 to 15 game sample size, if they're not playing well, if they're not making an impact, I think that's all you can do before you have to at least look, okay, I gave you 12 games in this role. You didn't do anything with it. I'm going to give the next 5 to Svi, see if there's any difference, while you go back into the lab and figure yourself out, because what we saw in the fourth quarter was abysmal. It
was gross. It was disgusting.
The line coming into tonight, Will, was 10.5. My brother texted me.
I didn't know what it was, but I had the stat in my head. Watched. I was like, oh my God. Thank God I forgot to put, I didn't have time to put money on this game. If I would be sweating out a game, the Celtics were up 40 because of the line, I would be, I don't know if I could handle it.
Yeah. My brother texted me and he was just like, I feel so bad for anybody that bet the line tonight, because it looked like we were about to blow it. And then, as I said, Svi came in, put the Superman cape on, hit a couple threes, made a couple nice passes. He really did kind of save the game for that bench unit down the stretch. Lamar Stevens had 3 turnovers, which wasn't great, but he also hit a couple baskets. So good for Lamar to get some run out there. I wanted to see Jordan Walsh get some time. Maybe if the game had stayed in closer to 30, we would have seen that. But Jordan Walsh, I think he was the only guy that didn't play tonight.
Only DMP was Jordan Walsh. So another night will be Jordan Walsh's NBA debut. But Greg, before we wrap this up, coming up on Wednesday, Celtics play the Pacers. I think this is going to be a really fun game, and this is going to be a really big challenge for the Celtics defense, right? With Tyrese Halliburton, all the shooting that they have, Miles Turner protecting the rim and can kind of, space out to the 3-point line. And anything in particular that you're going to be looking for in that matchup?
I'm going to be betting the over.
That sounds like a very, very fair analysis. I do think that will be a game that it'll be interesting to see how, because the Pacers certainly like to push it. It'll be interesting to see if that works for or against the Celtics, either trying to match that or trying to maybe slow it down at times. So
let's come up with a little same game parlay for Wednesday. What about we go Halliburton over for assists, or like at least maybe like we can go like at least 10 assists for Halliburton. We'll go Derek White and Drew Holiday each to get a steal.
Love that one.
Jason Tatum to get 10 rebounds.
Always.
Kristaps Porzingis to hit 2 threes.
I like it. Let's set it up. We'll tweet it out. We'll make sure that we got that set up. See what the odds are come Wednesday. We will tweet that out. So make sure that you're following us. This is a great time to plug at Green NB Pod. Follow us across all of our social medias, Twitter, Instagram, and appreciate everybody joining us here on YouTube. That is going to do it for this episode of Green with NB. Once again, Celtics beat down the Wizards 126-107. Back at it Wednesday night against the Indiana Pacers. We will check in with y'all later this week. Have a great night. Deuces.